start the Galactic Medusa. So first of all, I have to share with everyone, now that I know everybody's names, it's a coincidence, not coincidence. I gotta look more into it. So in Greek mythology, you have Medusa. And Medusa, I almost don't want to share the story because I really don't like it, and it's just been a patriarchal version. But the version that we all know, if you're into colonized mythology that always goes back to ancient Greece, you have Medusa that was a priestess, and Medusa the priestess was in Athena's temple. Medusa gets raped by someone whose name I don't remember. I don't know if he was a god or Lala. And Medusa gets punished, and Athena says, how dare you disrespect my temple space? And so Athena sends another man or god to go and then kill and behead Medusa. That's the Medusa story, but it's shorter. I think that what happens is that when Medusa gets her head chopped off, that Pegasus jumps out of her head, or then Pegasus is born. I get annoyed with this because it feels like it's a mishmash of a ton of mythology coming together. Tons. And actually, as I'm speaking, I'm getting some downloads too, because I know, or I just recently understood. So listen to our brainwashed minds. I just saw recently that somebody was sharing that there are black mermaids. And the reaction is of people, oh, there's black mermaids, meaning that there was, for the melanated people that are living all over the world, but specifically the melanated people, our brothers and sisters living in Africa for thousands of years, of course would have mythology of earth, water beings, and of course it would look like the brothers and sisters in that space. So for me, it was like, duh, but the reaction was, we are so used to the Little Mermaid, Disney, and everything being whitewashed. But long story to say that water, mermaid, snake, Medusa, then Pegasus, and Pegasus was maybe connected to the water and the frothy foam. So there's a lot of myths, and I think these are very ancient myths, way beyond 2,500 years ago, because I believe that the height of Greek time that we know, that we've been told in books, is 500 BC. So that's 2,500 years ago, right? And that's when the Medusa story was cemented. So I'm here to say, what a coincidence, not coincidence, that I'm bringing together this Pegasus energy and Medusa energy, and I'm bringing it in a new way for us to create our stories. But even in myth, they're deeply linked. And I'm not sure what that means. It's for us to look at. That being said, I wanted to dive into first of all, I want to say that I'm bringing in Medusa energy. Ooh, I have a slide to put behind me first to show the Medusa energy. Actually, I have her in two ways. I'm going to show her this way. So I know maybe the written is backwards, the writing, but so she kind of, oops, that's my cat's butt, if you see her cat butt. So she's got these scary snakes. That's how people know her. But maybe the snakes were actually dreadlocks. Whenever I tune into Medusa, I see her also as a Valkyrie. That's a very Nordic thing. But we're getting into powerful women, death, not working with death as a higher spirit and understanding that souls move. But this is all big energy. But I have another slide that I also like working with. This one, she's not as a young, oh, that's my cat, she needed. And this one is maybe stronger in her face and a lot of the many wings. Okay, I'm gonna stay with this one. So all of this to say is that I'm working with myths and Medusa, and I'm doing all of this for bringing forward this energy to talk about it. I have a slideshow to talk about media literacy, which links into this. But all of this is because I'm doing a course and I'm leading this course, and it starts next Saturday. But I'll talk about that later. So all of this to say, there's a lot of information, a lot of energy I want to share. So going back to Medusa and the colonized story, what I wanted to share with you today was the idea of what landscape are we living in? What mythology are we living in? What mythology have we taken in as our own? A big mythology is that, like we talked about earlier, men cannot be sensitive, right? David, thank you for bringing that up. And then how is David or other men, how do you bring in sensitivity to your man body energy? So that's a myth to be working with. And so now that we're flipping over to feminine and we're moving into what is media or society telling us or informing us of the myth of being woman or feminine, I have some things to bring up and show. Yeah, let me see if I can do the screen sharing. So Momlin, you speak up if it's working. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, it's a bit messy. I think I'm going to keep it this way. Let me see. Oh, no. I have to do it this way. Fine. Galactic Medusa, New Heroine's Journey. Okay. I guess you can't see. My cat's attacking my hair. Okay. 23,000 BC. So 23,000 years ago, something was happening. And this is a piece of archaeology taken from the cat scaring me. Could you please go? Thank you. The cat's very fierce. 23,000 years ago in France, this looks like a very realistic sculpture. And if this would be one on its own, then we would just try to create different stories. But there really are thousands and thousands of what these are called Venus figurines. The term is maybe a misnomer or maybe not. Venus is a name from Greek time or ancient Roman time. Ancient Roman time, we said, or Greek time, the height of the culture was 500 BC. This is tens of thousands of years before that. So maybe the name Venus or the concept Venus wasn't there, but the concept of goddess. I'm not sure if archaeologists who are really mostly men living from their patriarchal perspective, not that they're bad or anything, but understanding where they're coming from, I believe that the common understanding for what these are called as Venus figurines is they're labeled as fetishes because they're usually very small and they fit in your hand and you can hold it. I don't even know if they think that some of these were toys, but I believe that a lot of people, at least my people, are believing that there was a spiritual ritual purpose to this because there were so many of them all over the world. So something's happening. Oh, and meanwhile, in current Earth time, this is what's happening. Does anybody want to say what you think is happening here in our world? Ta-da!
Oh, women don't have any clothes on.
In this world, in our current world, women don't have clothes on.
I'm also noticing the posture. I mean, part of it is, of course, that they don't want to show full frontal nudity on this magazine cover, but also she's kind of like childlike and protective, which puts her to me in a very sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say disempowered, but it definitely presents her with less of a power stance than the men.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things that caught me because the men are very confident in power stance, and she definitely feels disempowered to me. And she's got the closed body language, closed in double ways, even though she's exposed, and being exposed, is that power or not power? So.
And the first guy is being, I don't know, taken care of or,
oh,
you know, moved over. He's got the four feminine hands there, you know, catering to.
Yeah. Let me see if I have, so I guess I can't go back. I don't know how to go back, or.
The arrow, you can't the arrow button?
I did the arrows, okay. All right, so now I know I can go back and forth.
Mhm.
There's a lot to say here, so I want to show the other slides and then we'll see if I can go back. But this is what we're living in right now, I feel. And this is a good snapshot. And if you're buying the magazine and you get one cover and then another cover separately, and this is how we're living our life, you see things. But this is now taking out of context and you're looking at it and you're like, this is a snapshot of the environment in which we're living in. At least the modern, global, Western world is living like this. So, oh, and we're also living like this. Oh,
Whoa.
yeah, it's a car ad. Any comments or reactions?
Oh my God, that's a car ad?
Hold
Wow.
on, yeah. Yeah.
Talk about being straitjacketed. Talk about the woman, and it's obviously a woman. I mean, it's not like they just picked a human being. It is a woman who's also naked and tied up and muted. Extra tape over the mouth.
So I need to honor, before I forget, that this is called media literacy, looking at images, dissecting them out of context, or it fits in sociology. And the only person that I know that does this is Jean Kilbourne. She's been doing it for over 40 years. And she pointed out, because I get so overwhelmed with this and I react the way you do, but I just want to honor her for bringing all of this stuff up. She will be pointing out and saying, porno culture has become mainstream and is being used in these ways. So you and me, we're reacting as it's a woman, and it's I'm just getting shaky for how angry I am with this. But then it also bizarrely has an eroticism aspect to this for, I don't know, porno world people. I'm going to go through with other slides. We can go back if you want to. Oh, meanwhile, 5,000 BC, so we're like 7,000 years ago, we have these images, and it's Greece. And interesting that her face is almost a mask, no eyes, no mouth, but her vulva is defined. So, from the research I've done, the fact that her face is a mask is showing that she's an overarching image. And maybe she's a good complement to the plasma Pegasus because he was an overarching archetype. And a lot of this image is very intentional. Any comments about her? Jump in, and anyways, I'm going to move on to next slides, but just jump in because I can't modulate everything so well. All right, yeah. The Venus figurine, thousands of years ago, I believe she's in France, or she was found in France. I have her in my slides, many, many thousands of years ago, but I wanted to show you where we are at. It just has such an impact. Anybody have any comments or reactions to this?
I'm kind of speechless. It's like, what are we going to say about this? It's just so ungrounded in anything natural or reality.
Yeah, so you have, go, Rebecca. Oh, who's talking?
Kim.
Kim.
I'm just like thinking back in the older days, anorexia was probably not a thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just made me think of anorexia too. Yeah, just how harmful, how destructive and harmful this figure is. Just feels very obvious to me at this point. But obviously, I mean, I had Barbies when I was a child, and looking back over the years, I can see I struggled with fantasy too. I can see how Barbies and in a magazine created that to some extent. But yeah, the other figurine, it does kind of feel like, yeah, the women would not have struggled with body image in the ways that we do.
That's what I want to say. There's a different environment. And I feel like this image for me is extremely powerful because I'm here trying to create stories, think of stories. And here the story is, what was humanity doing? What was ancient humanity doing thousands of years ago? It hasn't made this story of this Venus figurine, or the figurines in general, has not made it anywhere. I don't know the stories anywhere in our history books. So there's something lost here about what the ancient human was doing. The ancient man, the ancient woman, the ancient girl, they were doing something different. We are such a different animal now, holding plastic and holding that object versus holding the other object. So all I'm thinking of is, what is the story? And I want us to think, what is the story? And I don't really have answers. So it's like, let's just get thinking. I don't know what my next slide is. I'm scared. Oh, media tricks. Okay. That's from media literacy, being literate about the imagery around us. So this is one of the media tricks. I'm going to go through a lot more of them in the course. This is plastification, perfection. I mean, it literally is a mannequin. And then coming off of the Barbie image, let me see, what's the next slide? Oh yeah, so we have one media trick is that beauty is absolutely unattainable, and we're aiming for, it's not just perfection, but fakeness and things that are not real. Yeah, I mean, you go from, Barbie's not real and she's plastic and we have her as a toy. Then we have this, and this is a repeated image. So if when you see it in a slideshow format over and over and over again, you get to see the pressure and the accumulation that we have in our subconscious, because this is not, we don't escape this. People who begin to understand maybe the concept of media literacy, everybody responds the same way and says, but I don't pay attention. But unfortunately, we actually do. And that goes into things like Bruce Lipton and other big speakers say that we are absorbing all of this, especially in the first 7 years of our life. We're walking around in a hypnotized or hypnagogic state where we are absorbing all of this data, and this is forming our identity of how to be, how not to be. So if I'm a woman, I feel like I should be looking that way, and I still would like to have a flatter stomach, and actually I still want to look this way. With this is another media trick. It's actually multiple tricks, but it's really looking at body language specifically. So these postures. And again, there's more to look at. The one in black and white is Miley Cyrus. Don't know if that makes it better or worse. She's got so much talent as a performer, and she's in this position too. If you're in this position of power, great, but I don't feel empowered for her. I think I want to share more. Oh, yeah. Just to be a bit controversial here, because I love to be that, the far image that is less defined, so that would be to the farther left, the Tantan, that's what, I can't see my slide because it has, my screen stuff is on it, but I think it was 300,000 years ago. So basically hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's very controversial. I think there's one or two, there's several of them. I think it's controversial for several reasons. They're trying to say if it's male or female, and I think they did find one that was definitely had boobs, so it was definitely female. And what's controversial about this is it's so long ago, and then, I mean, I don't know what people commonly think the ancient human is doing. I always thought that the ancient human history goes very, very far back, and intelligent and spiritual activities were happening. So for me, a 300,000-year-old sacred ritual object is not a surprise for me. But I'm telling you, I'm showing you archaeological things that are heated. The most famous one is the Venus of Willendorf, found in Austria. And she's the much more voluptuous one. And she's the one that, I thought she was the only one that existed. I think I knew of her as a child or a teenager, and I thought that was the Venus. That was the Venus. I did not know that there were thousands of different versions, but looking quite similar. And then I just found out, I don't know what it means, but very recent archaeology found that the stone or the material or the clay, that the Venus of Willendorf in Austria came from somewhere in Italy. So we're like, yay, Italy! So it has special resonance. So any comments so far?
You also have that Willendorf figurine has a defined vulva.
Yeah, and then she also has a completely masked head. So the vulvas are a very big deal, and the vulva symbolism, etching, was found in many caves for thousands of years. So big symbolism. Oh, and so back on Earth now, please somebody respond to this image. We have what, 50, 60-year-old Minnie Mouse? Somebody correct me, but that's more or less right. You have older, yeah. So you have Minnie Mouse, and then you have contemporary Minnie Mouse. Please respond to this.
She's lost her innocence there. You know, we have innocence with the first Minnie Mouse, and she's certainly gotten more sexualized in the later one, which I don't know. It's hard to believe that Disney would actually draw that.
Well, Disney has morphed and changed, and there's this trend of contemporizing. And there was an intention in the marketing business recently, but in the last 10 years recently, that they noticed that, was it toddlers or after toddlers? There was preteens, there's the preteen category. So you have innocent kids, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds really like to play with Barbie dolls. So you have little kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, that really want to be bigger. So it was cool, it was interpreted as cool to have adult stuff. So basically it's trying to say a 6-year-old feels cool if she's playing with a Barbie doll or something along those lines, or she has a woman purse, or she has makeup on. So the way that the marketing engineers understood this is that they sexualized earlier stuff because the girls or kids were interpreting it. So it's cool, it's part of the adult world. And so there was a response. There's other theories which are more nefarious, saying that, well, I don't want to really get into that, but it's just sort of teaching girls at a younger age to have a posture, and we're getting into the whole world of beauty pageants for little tiny toddlers. Is that good or is that not good? And one example is Britney Spears was, from a very young age, we can say, sexualized. So she really learned that and embodied that. But I think now as an adult, I haven't seen enough of her, but it feels like she's like Michael Jackson, going back to being a little child because she never got to be a child. So there's the effects of early sexualization or sexualization on children. So this is part of the Galactic Medusa concept of what's happening in this narrative and what do we do about it. This is another media trick. Can somebody say what this is? Like what's happening here?
And first of all, those legs are like ridiculously skinny again. But no, I don't get it.
Well, this is objectification. So the woman's body is used as an object. And when you objectify a person, you dehumanize them, and you're getting closer to, this is an act of violence, essentially. I don't know if I had the violence examples. Oh, no, I didn't. But there's a whole breakdown. And I do know that Jean Kildeborn, in her material, she presents this very well. And she shows you the narrative, how it goes from the different points that I made or that she brings up, but there's more points to this, to then violence. And it's just, it's making it okay, but it's also drilling it into us that it is okay. It's sad to think who, what, when, where, and who's doing this and why. But the biggest reason is that shock. So Jean Kilbourne was saying that we get shocked by disturbing images and we get a chemical reaction, so that then we remember the image. Subconsciously, we might even remember the brand name. So shocking the system. But what I would say is, we have all of this towards woman. It's not really happening towards man. It's not that I really want it on man, but there's a systematic myth that's being built inside of us that goes back to Medusa, and that's what I'm saying. Any comments? So let me see. Okay. Any comments about everything so far? Because I am going to shift. Or questions?
One thing that came to my mind is this has been for me a good reminder to be very forgiving of ourselves and gentle with ourselves when we find, these little memes and programs in our head, being self-critical, whether it's body critical or whatever it is, and just recognizing like the volume and the intensity of programming that we've all experienced is really challenging to break out of. And so I think it's important to be very compassionate with ourselves. I appreciate the reminder.
Good point. And also with others, because I know I fortunately learned at an early age in the house I was growing up in to ignore newspapers, to ignore newspapers and media in a sense. So I've been removed from it since an early age. And so I don't even realize how much other people are bombarded, and it would be most people, bombarded. And of course, I'm not saying I'm totally void of it, because I do get, obviously I'm here, but at least I've been able to extricate myself from a lot. So that's really, really such a harsh environment to live and grow up in. So I like your point, Rebecca, of being kind and understanding to ourselves and others.
Thank you. I feel what you're saying. So I'm going to shift now, because there's a lot of these examples that I bring up, but it all becomes part of a cohesive story of what I'm saying in the course, but also specifically for today. So the Galactic Medusa course is next week, which is the 1st of October. It starts on the 1st of October, Saturday. It goes on, starts at 3 p.m. Rome time, 3 p.m. Rome time. And each time we meet live is about 3 hours. We might finish earlier, and we meet for 5 consecutive weeks. And we go through these slideshows, but then we go through, well, actually the slideshows have a lot more to say, because I'm putting all of this together in a heroine's journey. So the first person to really do this, first maybe only person that I know that's really talking about the heroine's journey, is Maureen Burdock. And I believe she studied she studied Carl Jung. I believe she is or was a therapist, and she has 15 steps in her heroine's journey. And it really helped me to read her book. I think she has done workshops and lots of things. I don't know if they're still happening now, because I think this was happening several decades ago. But that's how you can get a good book, when you have decades worth of material that's in one book. When I started putting this stuff together, I wasn't really thinking about her book as much. It's become part of me, but I've been doing so much more modern research material of my own, especially with media literacy. And I have 5 steps. I want to share them with you quickly for value of what we're meeting here today. Obviously, we go in super depth in the course, but in the light of what we just looked at, let's look at the steps that just sort of came to me in a way. They came to me in a packet, and they made a lot of sense. So you got Galactic Medusa, the new heroine's journey. So you have class 1 or step 1, which is leaving society. It's like what we just saw is so extreme, so bizarre, and quite aggressive or hurtful. So there's a step, especially because we're talking about the heroine. So it's the feminine or the divine feminine journey, and she's leaving society as it is. And we can talk more about that. So it's leaving it, getting a better perspective. And that's also the hero. The hero and the heroine, they leave their village, they leave their society, and they go off on adventures. Class 2 is for the heroine, is she loses her identity. I want to lose my identity, maybe in a way of being freed, because if I think I am a woman, I'm Caucasian, I'm responding to what's around me in society, I really do want to be skinnier, I really do want to be fitter, but it's not about that. It's also, do I want to be sexualized all the time? How am I responding? And it's not even these things that may seem simple, it's very pervasive down to who I really am. So really looking at identity and how it's been maybe forced upon us from childhood of playing with Barbie dolls and all of this, to how is it that I want to form my identity now? That's a big discussion. Then the third step is the descent into the underworld. And this can be controversial because the underworld can look and feel like hell. The imagery for hell was taken from women's shamanism that came before Christianity, Catholicism. So hell can actually look like a womb in some ways. So descent into the underworld, each class I'm looking at a lot of mythological imagery, the good and the bad, and how it was originally taken from something very ancient, because Medusa takes us really back to something before 2,500 years ago, which is where written language and all these things seem to have come from. But is that accurate? So descent into the underworld is basically losing your shit. I had to say that. The fourth step is meeting the monster. And this is another one that's really hard, because at this point, is the monster society or is the monster us? Are we being a monster to ourselves because how we're responding to society? So traditionally, I don't remember the hero's journey well, but I think that the hero meets the monster. I don't know if he gets to make friends with it or if he kills it, and then he's defeated this big thing, and he goes back to his society and says, I've beat the monster, which is the Hercules. He had to go through all these trials. And one of the things is he was killing a multi-headed serpent dragon, and I think that's another symbol of the divine feminine. So I thought that was interesting propaganda that you just keep seeing over and over again about all the symbols of how the patriarchy is setting up to destroy the ancient primordial tens of thousands of years of female symbolism or goddess symbolism, which was for the all, and chopping it down. So here, what is the monster? Is the monster patriarchy? Is it us? Is the monster bulimia? So we are meeting and facing the monster in this one. And of course, I like it if we get to make friends with the monster. Kind of like, is it Hagrid from Harry Potter? Final class, she's looking very warrior and very happy. And this is Free the Dragon. So you get freed. But then we look at symbolism, snakes and Adam and Eve, that story, and dragons in China 6,000 years ago, and what did that symbolize, and caves. And it's interesting because the dragon in Catholicism, Christianity is always the bad one. So you have slay the dragon stories. So of course here it's free the dragon. Those are really all very big steps. And I think somewhere in there, the descent into the underworld, which I said, this is where you lose your shit. It's madness. Madness is in there. Madness was a very important part. I think maybe Maureen Burdock, I think, did talk about it, that there's something about the feminine journey has something to do with madness and psychosis and things, and understanding other realms and bringing that in, emotions and realms. And it's sort of a more sophisticated journey than the simplified hero's journey that we have now. The simplified hero's journey was brought in also very well by Joseph Campbell, and he speaks so well that you can learn, there's a lot to learn from that too. But the hero's journey has been condensed and has been brought into a lot of the stories, most of the stories that we have now, like Star Wars and other ones that are very iconic and well known. So of course it's time for new myths and time for true legends for us to do and create. And the last part, of course, getting freed. This is ingredients of the course. But what I want to say is, do you have any questions or comments, or do you want to share? Because we have a few minutes and I want us to go in a shamanic space to gather the power that Galactic Medusa has for us in a similar way of how we gathered and received something really special from Plasma Pegasus. So before we do that, any comments about everything so far?
I had one thing I wanted to mention when you were kind of fading in and out on when it was happening, but when you were showing the slides, that last one with the purse, I guess that was a purse advertisement, although it was creepy.
This one.
Yes. And I can't remember now the ones before that, but I had seen somewhere and I've been noticing it that in advertising and in the things around us, that the color is being taken out. Like it's all very dull colors. And even like it was mentioned, cars, like you see only like gray is the huge color. It's gray and black and white, and all the colors are kind of disappearing. And I feel like that's also a part of this whole trend. Like we're losing the magic.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the Western world for a very long time, everybody's wearing black. Black is professional, but you go in other parts of the world where it's blasts of color. So that's something to be very aware of. I mean, it's simple and primal, but it hits real big. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Oh, it was great to see the statues from so long ago. And then, you know, the variety in the media of today and through the ages.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking that just the position really jolts. I feel it jolts us. I kind of get shivers each time. They're like good and bad. Anything else?
No, just pointing out that idea that, you know, we don't realize consciously all the subliminal messages that we're getting all the time and how they are just repeated. So, you know, as much as you want to try and shield yourself, we are affected by things that we don't necessarily choose.
We are affected by things that we do not choose. That's exactly what I'm saying here, is that if we begin to recognize the kind of messaging that is coming our way, we can choose to react towards it. That's what I'm doing right now. We're going to get into this galactic shamanic journey. We have the support from the divine masculine that we picked up earlier. We looked at all this stuff, got a little riled up. But now we can choose to shift. I'm gonna, yeah, okay, noises are all off. All right, so let's all mute ourselves. I think, yeah, that's good. All right. So my feeling is that Medusa was a priestess. My feeling is that we have thousands of years, tens of thousands of years of ancient mystery of what priestesses were doing, female shamans. And it's not to overemphasize that, it's just that that has been discounted. And it's not to diminish what men were doing. I think men were with the women in this. I don't think it was always egalitarian society. I do think that there was matriarchal times, and people are moving away from that word sometimes too. I think a current word that some people are using is matristic, to mean that there's a goddess-centered society that's egalitarian for men and women. And I do know that there are different archaeologist women who are speaking up about times, long-spanning times on Earth, like 500 years or 1,000 years of continuous peaceful culture between men and women living in a goddess-centered society, meaning goddess-centered because the goddess was really the earth. The earth was seen as our mother, and we were living off of the resources of the mother, like a baby drinks the mother's milk. So I'm going to start this meditation or galactic shamanic journey by taking us into a really ancient space. And our mascot for this is the Dea Madre, which is Italian or semi-Latin, but Dea Madre, Italian for the goddess mother, which is really, I'm using the word to mean the creatrix, so the mother of all and everything, and the one goddess, the goddess of all goddesses. So goddesses like Athena or Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, if we think of them as goddesses, or Goddess Isis, are all routed into the bigger umbrella of the creatrix. So we have the creatrix and this symbol here taking us gently into a sacred, ancient cave, the Mother Earth womb. And before we really get fully comfortable in there, remember and set the intention that you are highly protected by your higher self, and that you take it or leave it. You take what works and you drop what doesn't work, in my words, in my tone, in the energy of whatever's coming in. So you are really co-creating this experience for yourself. And we all are doing this for ourselves right now. And also maybe contributing to the greater collective that can access this energy. So we are going deeper into this cave space. And it's been a space that's been prepared for us. It has a past, present, future energy. And at this moment in time, it does have this huge, gorgeous, regal woman priestess energy. And she really is looking like a melanated sister friend coming and proud from maybe the African continent or other places on the earth, that there is this different, not well represented, not well shown, not well respected other sister goddess that is what might be one of the origins of the actual Medusa story, is a queen from North Africa that is also a priestess. And she's coming to us as our high priestess in this moment in time. She's also very galactic, very rainbowy, very sparkly, very futuristic. I mean, I might see her with a bunch of silver on her, or silver and gold, or rainbow pearlescent sheen. Very, very contemporary, but very ancient and primordial. She might have some snakes around her if you're okay with snakes and symbolism, or she just has some ancient archetypal symbols that you understand and love. Maybe she's holding a Venus figurine in her hand and giving it to us, but she has a lot that she is anchoring and transmitting for us right now. And she's been waiting for us, and we've been waiting for her. So in this moment in time, I am seeing the plasma Pegasus coming up in the sky, and he is the ocean and the sea and the sky, and he's looking very pearlescent and sparkly, and he's looking down so lovingly into the earth. And then I see the earth, and the earth mother, planet earth mother, is very luscious and full of trees and forests and different ecosystems. And yes, there's the deserts, but even the deserts have so many ecosystems in there too, so much diversity, biodiversity. And I see the privacy. I see the privacy of the forests. I see how you can be deeply protected in a forest area or in the jungle. And then I'm being led to look down at the soil and to look at the interconnectedness of the roots of the trees and fungus or fungi. Maybe fungi sounds more friendly, but the intelligence and the genius of fungi that are interconnecting, kind of looking like the neurons in our brain and in our body, just these highways of electrical information going from plant to plant, and all the plants are connecting, and we're going deeper into the soil, and there might be some worms and snails and insects and other things that are living so happy. And then we keep going lower and lower into the earth and feeling the moist, the cold, the freshness of the earth. And then we're at the top of a cave, which is the cave that we've been connecting with. And we go in the cave, and you can feel the protection and the layers and the, I don't know what to call it, the preciousness of every single element in the earth. And you can feel how all of that is really part of the Earth Mother. And you can feel, I don't know, kind of like a healthy pride as I'm a human and I'm living as a multidimensional, rich soul embodied in this human body. And I get to be part of all of this nature and the crystals and the trees and the elementals and Mother Earth. I'm feeling like as a human, I'm a wonderful being. And this body is wonderful. And then I feel that we're all standing up in this cave. And I'm like, oh, we're standing up to attention. And I can feel that somehow in this multidimensional space, we have this Galactic Medusa energy. And she's this high priestess. And honestly, she's a shapeshifter because she's bringing in mermaids from Africa. She's bringing goddesses from all over the place. She's really whatever we want and need her to be, but she's also very fiercely present. She's coming as a warrior woman priestess that holds a lot of archetypes that we may or may not know that we are missing and wanting and craving for our daughters, for our sisters and our mothers and grandmothers, for our women bosses, for ourselves. So she has something to transmit to us, and she's beaming it as the goddess that she is through all of her auric field, almost like a porcupine, but in a good way, just transmitting this energy to us, recognizing us as her sister. Whether we are male or female, we can really be receiving this divine feminine broadcast. And she's holding space with us, very similar to how the masculine energy earlier on in this transmission was just present and so very strong and allowing us to be in their space. This is what I'm feeling now. I'm feeling that we are being honored to pick up this energy if we want to. We're being honored to be in her space, but she's honoring us, saying that we are worthy, more than worthy, to be in this space with her, the Galactic Medusa, in this multifaceted way of what she is and what she represents, different things for all of us. But I'm really feeling this. I'm standing in my power as I'm standing within her power of what she's gifting and transmitting to us. Because as this high priestess that she is, she's dialed into the cave. The cave is a representative womb of the goddess, the ultimate creatrix goddess, and she's dialed in. As she's dialed in and I'm recognizing her power, I'm feeling it here, and I'm feeling really grounded and really blessed. So many warrior women and priestesses. We're talking about much farther back than 2,500 years ago, much farther back than the golden time of the ancient Greeks that we know, deeper into ancient matriarchal times or matristic times, but farther into primordial times. humanity, ancient humanity, really knew and understood the ancient primordial goddess and the creatrix and expressed it in so many beautiful ways. And we're getting to touch into that, touch into the positivity and the nutrition that this has to bring for us so that we can ooze it out and emanate this for our daughters and mothers and sisters and grandmothers and ourselves and our fellow sister priestesses and men and women. Just to seep this into society, it is a richness. And one of the most beautiful gifts is that I'm feeling it coming into my body, to have more body love and acceptance, and to have this body be so gorgeous and magnetic in a healthy way, mostly for my self-esteem or our self-esteem, to feel powerful and embodied and to bring in phenomenal health, rejuvenation, and just this deeper grounding into ourselves and the ecosystem. I think that we've gotten the download and the gift. Medusa is blowing us kisses. Well, she's become gentle and nice. She's showing different parts. She is really thanking us. And I think she's like pulling something out from her hair. I don't know if she's pulling out a whole piece of hair, or if she's pulling out feathers or colors or rays, or if she's pulling out a snake as though the snake is one of her friends and familiars and loved ones and she's passing it over to you. Again, the symbolism can change. If you're afraid of snakes and you don't like it, it's something else, because it is shifting in my view. For me, it is a snake because I've always loved snakes and found them so fascinating and beautiful and just in a way sort of alien, but deeply belonging to the earth. So for me, there's all this positivity and mysticism around that. And so we are being wrapped up in, well, often spirit. When I work with spirit in this way, we are often given new ceremonial blankets to encompass and hold and absorb the frequencies that we've just received. So in this moment in time, it's almost like we are the caterpillar getting in our chrysalis, and there's this very soft silk being spun around us, and it's very rainbowy from Medusa because she's so galactic and rainbowy, but also there's this feeling of the Pegasus who's bringing in all this other sparkle diamond, and so there's a co-creation together of this divine masculine and the divine feminine working together in a whole newly evolved way that we as future beings and beings that are so good with bringing futuristic love and technology and understanding to this current system and planet that we're on, we're getting these resources too. We're getting updated and upgraded. So we're drawing to the close. We've received everything. We're closing up shop. We're packing our bags. We're packing our bags and saying, all right, we'll see you again, ladies. We're going to be leaving the cave right now. We're going to go up through the soil, through the stones and the pebbles and the nutrition and the minerals in the soils and the crystals that are found in there. We're going to go up where you can see more of the fungi, and then you can see all these beautiful big roots, and up, and you see the fresh grass. You see different kinds of grass because maybe we're in the jungle, and then you go up and you see the trees, and maybe you stay with the tree for a little bit to ground, to feel the freshness. And if you can actually stay in this space a little bit longer, that would be good. And if you're wanting to ground, you move around a little bit. But I am concluding the space, and in fact, I'll stop doing the screen share. I am really closing it all up for all of us, while we are also establishing a deep connection with the trees and the soil. And I'm feeling really thankful for this gift from Pegasus and Medusa, and that we've given each other. And I feel like if you can really stay in the space, stay in it. Because I'm going to draw this all towards a close. So may it be that we all have our individual, I know I keep hearing the word sacs, like an amniotic sac, which feels similar to that chrysalis and the silk energy. So we all have our sacs around us, and we're all connecting with an intimate tree, which is really part of the forest that I'm in. I mean, there's forest reserve, nature reserve energy around here, and we're each given a tree. And I'm feeling a lot of the goodbyes from the trees and the nature around us. And a deep thank you. There are a lot of spirits, good spirits, shamanic energy that is just deeply thankful for what we've been achieving today. So if anybody's fully back, let's say some goodbyes, because I do have to close this up in really a few minutes.
Hi, Alessandra. Just want to thank you for this wonderful moment. It's difficult to find words. So where we've been, the energy there was like untouched, very powerful on its own. It's like it has everything in it. It's perfect. Perfect, very powerful, very supportive, and it's just like just a good feeling where you just wanted to rest there and stay with that energy. And I happen to have a bit of communication with really good. Where I've got to give me something and to talk to me about my future as well. So that was really great, and I thank you for that, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for making every one of us here now in replay is really making this energy. So thank you. And I like how you expressed it, because that's how I felt it too. Thanks, Yogita. Ciao. Hi, Denise.
Hi. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I was so late. But the energy was just beautiful. It was really beautiful to come in and feel that. And I'm really excited for the replay.
Thanks. You weren't really late. I messed up the time for everyone, so it's a long story. But I do have to run, everybody. So I think I'll listen to the replay because this was so fun. Thank you for being here. Special thank you for David. And Rebecca, I see you. I hear you.
I'm here. Yes, thank you so much. That was very healing. It's wonderful. I'm excited about the course.
I'm excited about the course now too, with this mega initiation from Galactic Medusa. Thanks, Rebecca. Mom Lynn, I see you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Yes, a great introduction. I look forward to the course too. More slides, even if some of them make me feel uncomfortable, because I want everything just to be fairy and peachy happy.
Well, with a priestess like Galactic Medusa and our own powers, I think we're going to have a good time, but I agree with you. All right, everybody, thank you. And woohoo, we have new friends. We have Pegasus and Medusa. I'm like, what can we do with this now? Okay, ciao, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.